it's a different hand shape, and hand shape for mouse is so critical.
Yes.
But this feels natural now.
Yeah,
As
cool.
far as where the buttons are,
Mm.
those two ones right next to my index finger, excellent. The two ones by
Oh,
my
yeah.
thumb, excellent. The one just under, actually, you know those little dudes that come on the mouse? Ooh, Christ, the mouse by
Yep.
standard, the little
Yep.
plastic one.
Yep.
I swapped those off immediately because I
Nice.
felt I was hitting those by accident.
Yeah, cool.
So having that second set of smaller ones, fucking clutch.
Well, hey, look, thanks heaps for jumping onto the call today. Really do appreciate it. The reason why we're doing these Feedback Friday calls is, of course, to get feedback from users like yourself of the SwiftPoint Z2 and or the SwiftPoint range if you've got other products of ours as well. Of course, it's very easy for us at SwiftPoint to be very biased around the products that we sell because we use them every day. But yeah, we do appreciate that the best way to understand how they're actually working and to get feedback from our customers is, of course, to listen to the feedback as well. But before we jump into your feedback, I'd love to understand your story and your use case. But start us off with how you came across the SwiftPoint
Z2. So I'm pretty sure the first time I saw it, it was on TikTok. Right. And I had injected so much computer peripheral content into my feed because I'm trying to make my setup a little more advanced, like going from a off-the-shelf keyboard to like a mechanical keyboard, and then getting a mouse. My Razer Basilisk V1 failed, and I got a V2, and that failed. And I'm like, okay, I think I gotta go full send it if I'm gonna get something I can rely on.
Yeah, I reckon.
So it was a tiebreaker between the Razer Naga and the SwiftPoint, because they both had just a fucking ton of buttons.
Yeah,
and I needed some buttons because there was an MMORPG coming out. And I needed to bind all those spells. And the deal breaker for me was, because I also play Rainbow Sixes, that tilt function seemed so niche and interesting.
Yeah,
that was the deal breaker for me.
Awesome. That's good to know. And so, have you been able to get the tilt features to work within Rainbow Six?
I don't think I tried enough.
Okay.
It was so challenging, actually, and I love. Thank God, comes in the set is that the pair of feet that's just a flat bottom.
Yeah.
And even being able to customize the tilt angle with the spare feet that come, or the tilt feet that come. I tried to make that work. I fiddled with the sensitivity on how much tilt actuates the thing, but what I realized was I actually lift my mouse off the mouse pad so often that it actually triggers the tilt when I don't want to.
Yeah.
So I think what I needed it to do for me was to have a tactile click so that I know when I'm about to trigger it. That would have been swell. So I have not been able to make good use of the tilt.
Okay, cool. But is it something that you're hoping to make good use of?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I take that back. I have found one use case for the tilt, which was playing small RPG Maker games, and I actually just tilt them out mouse left and right to move the character left and right. So like using arrow keys.
Yeah, okay, cool. Interesting.
I gave it that simple task,
Yeah. That's good to hear that you've been able to find a bit of a workaround for it, because it'll be a bit of a shame to have such a cool feature on the mouse and for you not to be able to use it. Yeah. So it's definitely cool that you've been able to find something to work around. Were there any, so thinking back to the mouse that you were using before you came onto the Z2, were there any limitations of your old mouse that made you really frustrated? Obviously, you've touched on the fact there was a new game coming out, so that was one of the reasons why you were looking for a new mouse. But aside from that one particular game, was there any, across gaming and across your workflow, your productivity, was there any frustrations or limitations from your old mouse that were just a bit too much for you? So that's why you started looking for a new mouse. And then were you able to get over those with the SwiftPoint Z2?
So I had a Razer mouse I mentioned, and that has the macro functions in the software on there. So when I went to the SwiftPoint, if it didn't have the client, the software, the client that I can actually map macros to, I think I wouldn't have changed.
Okay.
Because staying on the Razer ecosystem where my keyboard uses the same software and my mouse uses the same software, I needed to make sure that was still going to work.
Yeah.
So that was huge for me, still being able to make those macros.
Yeah.
The only thing for me was just the wealth of buttons I could get. That's
Yeah.
why the Razer Naga was a candidate. You have basically a numpad on your thumb, but
Yeah.
I think having all the mouse buttons where my fingers already are was the most valuable to me.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, it was the number of buttons. I needed a fucking billion.
That's awesome. And so, have you played around? Siemens buttons were such a big winning factor for you. Have you played around with what we call the input nest inside? So, where you're able to create like a string of actions to be assigned to one button, and then whilst you're holding that one button, you can then essentially press the other buttons to activate lots of different actions. Have you played around with those? Did you
No,
know that
I
was an option?
didn't know I could do that.
So within the software suite, you can click on essentially any of the buttons, click into them in the X1 control panel, and you'll see there's a little box there that says add input, and then you can add whatever input you want. You can add a tilt movement, a gyro movement, another button press, another keybind. You can press and hold a different button to activate a different string of actions and all that as well. So essentially takes your 13 your 13 physical buttons and essentially turns it into like an unlimited amount of buttons.
Infinite combinations.
So, yeah.
Didn't know that. My bad.
No, that's totally fine. But that's the beauty of these calls because, we do appreciate the Swift Z is such an overwhelming mouse because there's so much going on that there's so many features that quite a lot of people miss. So, and why I asked you about that is because you were talking about the extra buttons. So I thought that maybe you'd kind of picked up on that through some of the content that we've got out there before. But pretty cool that it's now something you can play around with because it will completely blow the Razer Naga out of the water even further.
Yeah. Sorry, Eric. We thought you were smart enough to catch on, but
talking about the buttons even more. So how has that helped to like level up your gameplay, level up your workflow, and has it been easy enough? You've already touched on it in some way, but has it been easy enough to adopt to having all of the buttons under your two fingers instead of your thumb? Is that something that's a lot more comfortable to you in terms of the ergonomics of the mouse, like how your hand sits on it as well?
Yeah, it took me a lot of getting used to find out how to hold my hand on this because for the first few days of this, it felt like it was sideways in my hand a little bit.
Right. Okay.
And I had to start holding my mouse differently. I think I used to have my pinky curled sort of under my palm.
Yeah.
But that's rubbing against the mouse pad, or I was tilting it in my hand. So, and now I put my pinky in a different place. Now I can't even imagine doing it in any other way. So I think that's just a learning curve for any new peripheral. It's a different hand shape, and hand shape for mouse is so critical.
Yes.
But this feels natural now.
Oh, yeah, cool.
As far as where the buttons are, those two ones right next to my index finger, excellent. The two ones by my thumb, excellent. The one just under, actually, those little dudes that come on the mouse. Ooh, Christ, the mouse by standard, the little plastic one.
Yeah.
I swapped those off immediately because I felt I was hitting those by accident.
Yeah, cool.
So having that second set of smaller ones, fucking clutch. I cannot very easily access the ones that are underneath my middle finger. I just don't curl like that.
Okay. Yeah.
The other thing I did with mine is those two knuckle. I call them knuckle buttons. I'm not sure what you call them.
We call them the trigger buttons, but trigger buttons, knuckle
buttons. Oh,
buttons.
because they lift up and they push down. They do both. I reversed them so I could get that lip towards my finger, and it's sort of easier to pull up on.
Yeah.
Because I don't. Pushing down requires me to pull my finger so far back and then push forward.
Cool.
So they're basically just both used for pulling up.
Nice. Was there anything else that surprised you about the Z2? Because obviously it's a very different mouse compared to the Naga and everything else is out there.
Yeah.
Was there anything that like you saw online and you were like, that looks freaking epic, and then it turned up and it was epic, or was there anything else that surprised you?
I think so. I knew I needed this little flap on. Fucking, where's my camera? Oh, it's so dark in here. Wait, the thumb rest, the thing that keeps between your thumb and the mouse pad. I knew I needed that because it's just gonna be friction burn to fucking hell.
Yeah.
But having the extra wing where my other trigger, the right click is, was surprisingly helpful.
Okay.
I can actually rest both my ring finger and my index and my pinky finger on there, and basically keeps my whole hand off of the mouse pad. Yeah. I know you wanted something epic, but this is just an ergonomics thing that I didn't know I needed.
Yeah, perfect.
Because another thing, this isn't your question, I'm going to say it anyway.
Cool.
I really didn't want a super edgy looking mouse, and it's so hard to find one that isn't flush with RGB. And
Yep.
yeah, this one has just a little glowy light under your palm,
Yeah.
screen on the side, and
Yeah.
these wings I thought were a little too much, but then
Mhm.
actually I thought actually this is absolutely essential. So
It makes
really
so
like
much sense when your hand gets on it.
a modest mouse, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we're definitely not in the business of making a disco ball mouse. That's for sure. We'll definitely leave that to our friends at Razer because they do a pretty good job. Razer and
Yeah.
Corsair, they do like a pretty good job at making disco ball products. That's for sure. um, and so, is there any other features of the Z2 that you haven't used yet?
Well, you said the pairing or the sequencing of mouse
Yeah.
buttons. Forgot about that. I do want to. You have the sort of gyroscopic
Yep.
flight control pad.
Yep.
Haven't used that yet. I have a
Okay.
friend that's hopefully going to make a computer soon, and we're going to do some War Thunder and flight simulators together. So
Oh,
that's I
awesome.
intend to get
Okay,
some use
cool.
out of that. Change application, it changes your profile right away.
Yep.
Something on that subject is I do this all the time, and I know it's my fault,
Yeah.
but I think maybe this is an opportunity to idiot-proof something from
Okay.
me,
Okay.
which is I'll go to the software on the side,
Yeah.
and I'll go to the application,
Yeah.
game launches, and it's showing me where my buttons are assigned.
Yeah.
And then I'll think, ooh, I need to change that. So I click over to the software, and now it's swapped because it's on auto. It's
Yeah.
moved to desktop.
Yeah.
And now I'm changing all the buttons, and like
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
swapped everything on my desktop configuration. I'm fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
I
happened to
know there's a
me.
manual, toggling the manual stops that, but
It does.
you
Yeah.
can't stop
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. That has happened to me so many times, and you're not. If it helps, you're not the only person to do that. There's a lot of users that will do that, which is why, yeah, it definitely makes sense to kind of either put it into manual mode, which of course you've already mentioned, put it into manual mode, and then keep it in
Or have
there.
it,
But I appreciate that then that's annoying
yeah.
because then you've got to go back into the X1 to swap it back into auto profile switch on. Definitely something that comes up quite a lot. We have a lot of people tell us about it. So yeah, there's something we can do to hopefully try and make that visualize that you've still got that game and or software package open so it
Yeah.
automatically stays in there unless you maybe click away from it or something like that. So basically make manual mode a part of auto profile switching, if that makes sense. So it's like
Or just
it
yeah.
still recognizes you've got it open, so it keeps it locked onto that profile until you've maybe closed the game or closed the software package. Would be quite cool.
Or an indication more prominent than a yellow outline across the profile I've selected.
Yes, fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
I mean, I don't think I should be telling you ideas because I'm not. I
No,
don't
please,
make the
please,
thing. I think
please.
there's
No,
someone
no,
more
but
clever than me that can.
please. But this is all stuff that we want to hear. You know, this is the reason for
Yeah.
these calls so that we can essentially, like you say, we can kind of idiot proof stuff because there's all stuff that we're used to doing,
Yeah.
and yeah, there's all things that we're used to doing and how we're used to running our mice and our software. So, but as
Oh.
always, we're very biased to how we do stuff. So yeah, a couple of marketing questions for you from my side as like the
Yeah.
marketing manager. So before you decided to buy the Z2, what was your process? Did you come onto social media to find out more? Did you go to YouTube? Did you read some reviews? Did you jump onto like a Reddit forum? Like, what did you go through to find some of or all of the answers that you needed for what you were thinking when you saw the Z for the first time?
Right. I think because of just the way the overlord of the TikTok algorithm works, it knew I was in the market for one.
Okay.
So it came in just in time for me to make my big decision.
Okay.
What was I going with this? And I do not make impulse purchases,
Yeah. Of
especially because it's quite a expensive mouse.
course.
So
Yeah.
is the Razer Naga.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to be thinking about this for weeks. I'm going to look up reviews online.
Yeah.
I'm going to get user experiences, and people genuinely had pretty positive things to say. And they were saying that
Awesome.
about the Z1, and just me seeing a Z2, I'm like, okay, people like the Z1. It's probably gotten better since then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I had pretty good confidence that this was going to go well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Um,
That's
that's
cool.
how I made that decision. Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. So you literally were just being served all of the content that we were posting on TikTok, and that got you.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Thinking about TikTok and the content and stuff that we post up there, was there anything that you saw on TikTok that you felt was too much of a marketing ploy to try and bring people in? And if so, what was it? But has it kind of lived up to the expectations that you've had? I know you've touched on a few things already, but is there any particular video or piece of content that you saw that you were just like, nah, surely not?
Um, well, to be fair, it's been a while because
Yeah.
now I have a mouse. I'm not shopping for one anymore. I just
Yeah.
don't get the content anymore.
Okay.
So I would have to be digging through my memory, which I wouldn't rely on to
Hmm. That's cool.
practically.
Yeah.
But no, I was surprised to see that the tilt on the tilt on the mouse was gyroscopic.
Hmm.
I thought it was a tactile button.
Hmm.
I didn't feel misled by that. I think I just made an assumption.
Cool.
So to answer your question, no, I don't think I was. I don't think anything
Awesome.
misled me.
A question I have for you, I haven't actually asked anyone this question before, but it'd be interesting to kind of know. But because you came directly from social media, what was your first impression of SwiftPoint as a brand, like us as a brand? Like seeing us through social media, you've probably never heard of us before. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. What was like your first impression when you were, because you mentioned that you were reading reviews from people and they're all very positive. Like, yeah, what was your first impression? Were you like, this probably seems a little bit too good to be true, or did you just feel quite confident with it?
Maybe I had a tinge of too good to be true.
Yeah.
So when I go onto Zpoint, oh,
Mm.
when I go onto SwiftPoint,
Yeah.
it is the SwiftPoint mouse. Like there's the
Yeah.
creator and there's the tracer, but
Hmm.
that is the mouse you make. And I know there's the pen grip and also the vertical grip, but
Yeah.
um, I I got the impression that this is 100% the product and the focus of the
Yeah.
company. So I
Yeah.
understand it's not like the 14 different brands of razor you can get, or the 14 different I wouldn't know, G-Shock's a mouse. Not a G-Shock is a watch. Who makes whatever a
Logitech.
Logitech or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was comforted by that, and I've had good experiences with like companies that are singly focused on one product.
Yeah.
Um,
Awesome.
it's reassuring in a way for me.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
My biggest gripe with this mouse
Yeah.
so far is these rubber pads on the thumb and the other side by my ring finger.
Yeah.
They're wrinkling and they're sort
Yeah.
of like shifting out of place, and I sort
Mm.
of have to knead them back into their groove.
Yeah.
Uh, that's it.
Okay.
I don't know how they're held in place. I don't know if they're like locked with a
It's
grommet or something, or if they're glued in
no.
place.
Yeah, it's glue. So
Yeah,
depending, we're definitely here depending on where people are based in the world, depending on what climate they live in. The glue melts.
yeah. I think
Essentially.
that's what's happening. I think after a
Yes.
lot of use in one go,
Yeah.
with my fingers rubbing against that, it's
Yeah.
rubbing it loose and making it hot.
Yeah.
That does settle
That's
back into
exactly it.
place. But I expect that to come out
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah, so you can actually, if you want to, there is like a little guide that we have on the forum. But I know it's a little bit of a annoying thing to tell people, but you can actually peel those little pads off and then remove the glue with like some isopropyl alcohol spray. You can
Yeah.
get the glue off of there, and then you can super glue them back on. But you probably saw
Ooh.
when I held up my mouse, I've kind of got past it by just putting grip tape on it.
That
Which kind of stops it. So yeah, I've got some grip tape on there. I've got some on the side as well. That kind
must
of
feel
covers
rough.
up. That kind of
Yeah.
covers up the pads and stuff like that. So yeah, that's one other way that you can work around it. You can get some
Yeah.
grip tape for it. But no, it is an issue. We're very aware. It's been an issue annoyingly across all of the SwiftPoint Z range, even from the Z1 going to the Creator and the Tracer. Just for some reason, the glue that we use, we even changed the glue for the Z2, and the same thing's happening. So the next version of the Z that we're working on, we haven't been quiet about the fact we're working on the next version of the Z. Will hopefully not have those pads on them. We're hoping to have a bit of like a double shot grip, like punched into the actual shell of the mouse.
Aren't you a
So
clever boy? That sounds cool.
yeah. Yeah, that's a really big request from a lot of people, and also would just save so much headache of those little pads, because then as you can appreciate, we've got spares of those pads. They're currently sitting in a warehouse in Hong Kong and California. So yeah, they're everywhere. So it's kind of annoying.
Oh fuck, that's a lot of pressure. This mouse. It is totally unique in its function. I feel. You're gonna get mice with lots of buttons and lots of features, but they're not putting you're putting the features exactly where I want them. Buttons by exactly where my fingers already are. Macros, software, and just the least douchey mouse you can get while still having that full douche functionality. It's stellar.